Welcome to Change Your POV podcast. You're listening to Headspace and Timing, a show dedicated to breaking down the stereotypes of veteran mental health. I'm your host, Duane. Let's get ready to make sure that your headspace and timing set correctly. Hey everybody, welcome to Headspace and Timing. If this is your first time listening, then thanks for checking us out. As many of you who serve know, the M2 machine gun, the 50 cal, is one of the greatest weapons in the military's arsenal. If the weapon's headspace and timing isn't set right, however, it's just a huge chunk of metal. Veterans can be rendered inoperable if their headspace and timing's not set correctly either. That's my mission here, to raise awareness about veteran mental health and reduce the stigma against seeking support. Each week we'll talk about different aspects of veteran mental health and interview mental health professionals that are working with veterans, service members, and their families around the country. Hey folks, Duane here. Thanks for joining me on yet another episode of Headspace and Timing, a show that we're going to talk about veteran mental health and what we can do to make a change, to reduce the stigma and to really make an impact on what we're trying to do in our post-military lives. So if you've been listening for a little bit, I'd like to thank you for coming back. This show today is really going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and it's about trying to reduce the stigma and help people to understand about veteran mental health. I've got a couple of different goals when it comes to the writing that I do and the podcast that I do here, and that's to help some of my colleagues to understand what it is like to work with veterans, but also to help veterans to understand what it's like to kind of work with a mental health counselor. So I'm in a unique position, being both of those things, to kind of bridge the gap. And that's what this show and actually the next show are going to be about. So this is going to be a two-part series, and it's going to be looking at things from two different sides. So today's episode is going to start out with 8 things that a veteran wants their mental health counselor to know. So this is as much for the therapists who may be listening, the mental health professionals, to give them an idea of a little bit about what a veteran may want them to understand when it comes to a veteran coming to sit down for therapy. The next episode is going to be looking at 8 things that a mental health professional wants a veteran to know. So it's going to be kind of a bookend. This is based off of a very short series of blogs that I wrote. You can find those over on veteranmentalhealth.com, and I'll make sure to add those to the show notes. So today, again, is going to be talking about 8 things that a veteran wants their therapist to know. The first thing that veterans, I think, in my experience, that want their therapist to know is the veteran's not sure that it's necessary. There's something about sitting down and talking to a stranger that a veteran finds challenging. I was talking to a connection of mine, and he said something pretty profound, was that, kicking down doors is a lot easier than talking about kicking down doors. Whether the fact that the veteran's going to share their darkest, most intimate secrets, or that they've tried to do that with somebody else before and they've been betrayed or hurt, it's going to be challenging for a veteran to reach out for help. There's so many times where I've had a veteran come in and sit down and they say, you know what, I'm not even sure why I'm here. I should be able to handle these things. I should be strong enough to be able to deal with this stuff on my own. When we were in the military, our mindset of enduring hardship and sucking it up and driving on, and that kind of stuff continues even though we're no longer in the service. So it's important, I think, to help veterans understand why it's necessary, why processing these events and kind of putting them in the right place is necessary for their continued health and wellness. Second thing I think that veterans would really like for therapists to know is that they're really, really trusting you. There is a huge part of telling some of the most intimate details of things that happen in the military and deployments that takes an immense amount of trust. And therapists know this. One of the big things that I know as a mental health professional, that the best thing that I can do, client, is establish what we call the therapeutic relationship. More than anything else, that's seen evidence-wise in research has shown that that's the biggest thing that helps any therapist and their client move forward, is the bond that there is between a mental health professional. Trust is a huge thing for veterans. From the moment that they join the military, trust is a factor that's as critical as food or water, just like anything else. They trust their brothers and sisters. They trust that people are going to have their back, that they're going to support them. They trust their leaders. They trust their equipment. They trust their training. Sometimes, yes, absolutely, in the military, that trust is betrayed, often in ways the veteran doesn't understand, and sometimes that might create conflict. For a veteran who wants to sit down with a mental health professional, that's the ultimate trust fall, and that's placing not just their own life, that veteran's own life, in the hands of the therapist, but some of the most precious, meaningful, important, painful things that the veteran can think of, the memories of those they've trusted in the past. So trust is a huge thing, and for a veteran to come in and sit down and want to talk to a mental health professional, that's telling you that you're probably dealing with one of the most precious things they have to give. A third thing, in my experience, that veterans want a mental health professional to know is that the only reason they're there is because they're tired of feeling like crap. I don't want to say that's a blanket statement, but I don't know that there are a whole bunch of veterans that seek mental health treatment proactively. Instead, it's usually, I realized I needed to get help, or I'm here because somebody told me I needed to be here. There's an internal struggle between not wanting to admit to needing help and recognizing it's necessary and important. Both of those things are kind of on the same scale of balance. When one becomes higher than the other, that's usually when the veteran decides, I think it's time for me to talk to somebody. That's when they'll actually take action. Unfortunately, sometimes this happens because there's challenge in their lives, and that challenge has become more significant than the barriers of treatment that exist. The fact that the veteran has been able to overcome the challenges and asking for help is a huge indicator that they really need to be there. So for the fact that a veteran comes in and says, I need to talk to somebody, you can't dismiss it. They're there because they feel like they have a reason to be there. A fourth thing that a veteran, I think, would want a mental health professional to know is that I really want to be able to talk. If there's one thing that we like to do, it's tell stories. There's a reason why the Change Your POV podcast network exists, and it's because we want to mentor, we want to help, and we like to tell the stories that we have. We want to be able to tell stories about what happened to us, stories we tell ourselves about what happened to ourselves and why things happen. A lot of the stories are funny. A large portion of the stories are unbelievable. And many of the stories are the most difficult things that you'll ever have to listen to. The fact that a veteran is coming in and talking to a mental health professional indicates that they have a desire to be able to talk about their experiences and want to understand them. Number 5 is really a continuation of that. I really want to be able to talk, but I have no intention of doing so. So the other side of the equation is that a veteran has zero intentions of telling the story they so desperately want people to hear. It might be because they don't feel like it's worth it, that nobody in the military, or if you haven't been in combat, you can't understand. It might be that the veteran's afraid that if they dig up the past, they're going to be haunted by memories even more than they already are. If I poke my stick in that particular pond and disturb the dirt at the bottom, who knows what's going to surface. For whatever the reason, the veteran both wants people to understand and does not want people to understand. They don't want to have to tell them about it. Waiting patiently for one of those two things to come out is absolutely critical to helping a veteran. The sixth thing that a veteran wants their mental health professional to know is that they're going to shut down if they feel like you're judging them. A singular way to destroy any kind of rapport with the veteran is to express horror or condemnation or revulsion at their experience. A non-judgmental point of view and unconditional positive regard are some of the most fundamental aspects of mental health professionals, but actually putting these things into practice can be difficult in working with veterans. I've had veterans explain to me, the last therapist I went to, I couldn't keep going because all they did was cry whenever I would tell them, and I didn't want to hurt them anymore, or they acted scared of me, or they told me they couldn't help me because my challenges were so worse than what they've experienced. So that kind of horror and judgment can be like the veteran looking in the mirror. Sometimes it's the way they feel about themselves. And if the mental health professional judges a veteran in that way, they're going to shut down. And not only are they going to shut down, they're likely not going to seek help from anyone else either. And so a veteran really wants the therapist to be able to know, look, if you judge me, I'm out of here. Number 7 on the list of things that veterans want their mental health professional to know is a lot of them don't think that they'll be able to understand what the veteran experienced. This is something I've heard from veterans all the time. They don't get it because they haven't been there. It's if the therapist has no legitimacy when it comes to life experience. The veteran appreciates the effort that we would have gone through to get the education we have. It goes to a hope that the veteran has, the hope that you'll be able to help, that's also tied to an equally strong belief that you won't be able to. Understanding veterans and military culture is huge, and it goes beyond just learning acronyms and rank structure. In understanding the military culture and what the veteran experienced, it's going to go a long way to establishing legitimacy in the veteran's eyes. A colleague of mine says that we're so confident, therapists are so confident in the product we have that people should just trust us. And that idea, you should trust me because I'm a professional, can help, doesn't mean so much to a veteran. Something that could mean a heck of a lot more is, I've taken the time to learn about you and what's important to you. The fact that the veterans' culture is a different culture, they see things differently, they understand things differently, as differently as someone who grew up in a inner city would think and feel things differently than someone who grew up on a farm in a rural community with 1,700 people in their town. So it's important to understand that the veteran doesn't think you'll be able to understand, and taking the time to understand can help them learn how to share what they experienced. Then the last thing that I think a veteran would want a therapist to know is that they have no desire to be coddled, revered, or bullied. There are 3 things that I think that I've seen that a veteran finds challenging: being treated like a victim, being treated like a hero, or being treated like a child. They're going to reject the first. They don't want to be seen as a victim. They'll reject the victim mindset, many veterans. Although, and this is likely going to be a discussion for a future podcast, is some of them play into the victim mindset. But the minute you call them a victim or treat them like a victim, they're going to reject it. They don't want to be known as a broken-winged bird or a 3-legged dog or, oh, you poor veteran. Approaching the veteran from the point of view that they're a damaged, fragile human that just needs to be cared for is a sure way to get them to reject any assistance you may want to provide. It may be true that they're fragile and damaged, but many veterans are not used to being treated that way, and they'll reject that. They'll deny the second, being treated like a hero. No veteran that I know of would accept the label of a hero or the thought of being a hero. I often tell guys, men and women that I see, you can get a group of veterans sitting around a table and ask them, who's the strongest, who's the fastest, who's the smartest, and they're going to argue with each other about who is the strongest and who is the fastest and who is the smartest, and Marines are this, and soldiers are that, and sailors are this, and so they're going to be trying to one up each other. But the minute you ask them who's the bravest, who's the most heroic, who sacrificed the most, and they're going to point at each other. they're not gonna acknowledge that they are the hero. And it is a humility thing, but it's more than just a humility thing. It's a fact that we actually know heroes. We know people that have done heroic things. We've known people that have done more than we have, and we consider them the true heroes. So if a therapist treats a veteran like a hero, then they're going to deny it. They're going to be uncomfortable with it. They're not going to like it. The most heroic people they know are the brothers and sisters that didn't make it from combat, and comparing themselves to those they consider true heroes can be challenging. The veteran doesn't see it that way. And finally, the veteran is going to resist the third, being treated like a child. They're not going to respond to someone being forceful with them, or just telling them, look, you should just get over it, or this is what you need to do. I've heard it from veterans who have heard it from mental health professionals, and it's surprising that I hear it from some of my colleagues, but that's what they're told. Look, it happened 15 years ago. You should just move on from it, or you should just get over it. That kind of thing is going to increase resistance rather than reduce it. And so figuring out which one of these stereotypes, well, all three of the stereotypes really should be avoided, and engaging in these stereotypes, saying, oh, I'm so proud of you, of which you very well may be. Or, oh, you were in, Fallujah, but acting like a fan rather than someone who is there to support the veteran and help them to understand how the things that happened in the past is affecting their present, and how they could affect their future is really going to get in the way. So that's pretty much it. And he kind of went through it a little bit quicker. As I'd mentioned, this is linked to a blog post. It goes a little bit more in depth, but it's one of those things that it might be helpful to understand. Some of the things that a veteran wants their mental health professional to know. And I'll run through them again real quickly. Number one, the veteran's not really sure that this therapy thing is necessary. They're trying it out, but they're not sure it'll work. Number two, really, really trusting you. It's the trust that's huge, especially when you get into some of the deeper topics. Number three, many times the only reason the veteran is seeking mental health support is because they're tired of feeling the way they do, and that somebody pointed out to them that they might need some help. Number four, I really want to be able to talk. Veterans really want to be able to tell their story, which leads into number five. They have no intention of telling their story, and understanding which one of those is going to come up on any given time is important. And number six follows that. I'll shut down if I feel like you're judging me. I want to be able to talk. I have no intention of doing so, and I'll shut down. I'll stop talking if I feel like you're judging me for something. Number seven, a lot of times veterans have preconceived notions that they don't think that you'll be able to understand what they experienced, that it's going to be something that they feel as though only a combat veteran, or only an Army, only a Marine can understand, because that's my experience. And then number eight is really a big one, is to move beyond the stereotypes, that the veteran has no desire to be coddled, revered, or bullied. This is by no means an exhaustive list. Are there more that can be added? Are there some here that may not be off, So there you have it. This is by no means an exhaustive list. There might be more that can be added. There are some here that might be off the mark. I'd love to hear you, tell me that I've got it wrong, or that you think, something else should be added. Please reach out to us. You can make a comment in the show notes. You can reach out through the comment on the Change Your POV website. We'd love to hear from you. Feel free to join the Change Your POV squad over on Facebook. We'll have a link to that in the show notes. And we can talk about what you think should be added to the list over there. there can never be enough conversations about veteran mental health, and joining in that conversation can only benefit veterans and those looking to serve them. Thanks for taking the time to listen today. I look forward to hearing your feedback, and make sure to tune in next week, where I'm going to give the other side of this, where the 8 things a mental health professional wants a veteran to know, so that veterans maybe listening to this might be able to get the other side of this particular story. So thanks again. I appreciate it, and look forward to joining you next week.